travel experiences from around the world. Myanmar, or Burma before 1989, is the largest country in Southeast Asia, with a population of almost 54 million. Its geographical shape is quite unique, as 1/3 of its borders create a continuing coastline. The official language is Burmese, and the currency is called the kyat, with 1 kyat worth 86 cents. The economy of Myanmar is production-based, and more particularly in agriculture. Arable land constitutes 15% of its total area, while the main source of income is timber. The majority of people in Myanmar are Buddhist. To get to Myanmar from Athens, we flew to Doha, Qatar, and from there to Bangkok, Thailand, where we spent the night. The next afternoon, we flew from Bangkok to Mandalay in Myanmar, a flight that lasted 1 hour and 45 minutes. Mandalay, where our 11-day trip begins, is the second largest city in the country, with a population of 1,225,000 inhabitants. It's one of the big commercial and cultural centers in Myanmar, and for this reason, we had planned to stay 2 days to visit its main attractions. In other Southeast Asian cities, we usually get around town with a traditional tuk-tuk, but we were surprised not to find any here. So we asked 2 locals to show us around the city on their motorcycles. After seeing the walls of the enormous Mandalay Palace, we made our first stop in Sandamuni Pagoda. From there, we walked up to the Shwedagon Monastery, a historic Buddhist temple built in 1880 by King Thivao Min. We then went on to visit Mandalay Hill, a 240-meter high hill located northeast of the city center. Mandalay Hill was an important place of pilgrimage for Buddhists for about 2 centuries. At the top of the hill is Pagodas Dong Bay, where we really enjoyed the panoramic view of the city. Monks often come here to chat with tourists, as they want to practice their English. Night had fallen, and we decided to climb down the stairs to get a taste of Myanmar cuisine. And what is the best way to do this? The canteens that you find in almost every corner of the city. Something that really impressed us are the small cafes where the locals enjoy watching movies. The next day, and after being convinced by one of the locals, we decided to rent bikes to explore the city. Mandalay is flat, which makes it easy to explore. It is also very easy to find your way around the city because there are no street names, but instead there are numbers, the so-called grid system. So you can easily find a site located on the corner of 26th and 89th Street. While exploring Mandalay, a few things that grabbed our attention were the Catholic Church of St. Michael, a small local sugar and processing plant, a street show with snakes, the monastery of Quechao, the Bridge of Crocodiles, and a local market. One major attraction you shouldn't miss is the U-Bahn Bridge, which is located in Amarapura. We took a taxi to get there, which took about 40 minutes. The bridge is 1,200 meters in length and was built in 1850 and crosses the Thaungthamon Lake. The U-Bahn is considered to be the longest wooden bridge in the world. It lies on 1,086 wooden pillars that are unfortunately rotting away over time, but are gradually being replaced with concrete. The next day, we took the ferry from the Ayeyarwady River and headed for the Untitled, which is the port of the next city that we wanted to visit, Bagan. Generally, there are only two options to get to Bagan from Mandalay, by bus or by riverboat. The time it takes in both cases is the same, about 8 hours, so we chose the one we are not so familiar with in Greece. We wanted to have a new experience, but for the people who live in Southeast Asia, it is a very popular way to get around. The water level of the river changes according to season, therefore they use these bamboo sticks in order to check if it's deep enough for the boat to pass. On the way there, we passed through some villages, and the people who live there and whose lives are completely dependent on the river. It is where they take baths, wash their clothes, and also serves as the main transportation method through which to send and receive goods. At around 5 p.m., we approached the Untitled. We chose an unusual method of transportation, but in Myanmar, it is very common. After leaving our luggage at the hotel, we went out for dinner and then went to bed early because the next day we had set a target to explore the 2,200 temples of Bagan. Obviously that was a joke. We began our trip to visit the largest and most important churches of the city with a moped that we rented, or e-bikes as they are called. The area where all these temples are located covers a size of 104 square kilometers and is referred to as the archaeological zone of Bagan. After visiting many temples, we ended our day at the Bagan Golden Palace. One experience that visitors of Bagan should not miss is sunrise with the temples of the archaeological site in the background. The best way to enjoy this unique scenery is by hot air balloon, but it costs $300 per person, so we preferred to watch it through the temple of Shwedagon Pagoda. As we headed towards New Bagan City, we witnessed an unexpected but pleasant event which changed our program completely. In one village, we saw people gathering, so we stopped to check out what was happening. It was a ceremony called Monk's Novitiation Ceremony, and takes place exclusively in Myanmar. In this ceremony, young boys dress up like princes, and in the afternoon shave their heads and enter the temple, where they have to stay for at least 1 week. The ceremony is similar to a parade, and everyone is out on the street to honor the event.
This is novitiation ceremony. In Buddhist, we have 2 time and auspiciousness. Yeah? The one is wedding ceremony, one is this one, novitiation ceremony. So in the evening, after the ceremony, the parents sent to the monastery to become a monk. So they have to stay at the monastery minimum 1 week.
After this wonderful experience, we went back to our hotel to get our luggage, because at 7 p.m. we had to take the overnight bus to Lake Emmanuel, the next stop on our trip. After 8 hours on the road with only 1 stop for a cigarette, we arrived at our destination at 3 a.m., the town of Shui. Unfortunately, the room we had booked was not available until 10 in the morning, so we ended up sleeping in a room next to the lobby until it was available. In the morning, we went to the Nan Chang Channel, located west of town, to rent a boat and see the lake. Inle is the second largest lake in Myanmar, and during our visit we saw many interesting things. We passed through several small villages that lie within, called floating villages. We watched how they construct their boats.
As a tourist boat, you drive a boat, the same together. How long? 15 meters.
We visited a traditional cigar workshop. And also a weaving workshop, where the so-called long-neck women worked. These women are members of the Kayan tribe, and they wear special neck rings to enlarge their neck from the age of 5. We bought souvenirs from a local market called the 5 Days Rotating Market. It's called that because it takes place at 5 different locations around the lake. We visited an iron processing workshop. We played a game that resembles pool with some locals that is played with the fingers rather than a cue. We visited the Pagodas Pagoda. A laboratory which manufactures local umbrellas. The jumping cat monasteries where the monks have trained cats to jump through hoops. However, we did not get to see them because when we went there, the cats were resting. We drank a beer in a house that serves as a cafeteria. And were rather impressed by how they managed to row with their feet. When sunset began, we made our way back, as we wanted to visit the local food market to get something to eat.
Βρισκόμαστε στην τοπική αγορά night market, όπως το λένε το μέρος, είναι lake.
Είναι lake, ωραία.
Και η τοπική αγορά αυτή έχει μόνο φαγητό.
Όπως μπορείτε να δείτε εδώ στους πάγκους.
Εδώ έχουμε διαλέξει να φάμε γαριδούλες, καβούρια και κοτοπουλάκι.
Το κοτόπουλο μου κάνει κοτόπουλο, κάτι για ζελέ μου κάνει. Δεν πειράζει μωρέ, κάτι θα φάμε.
Νομίζω ότι θα έπρεπε να επιλέξουμε ακόμα και να φάμε και λίγο fried rice.
Ναι, εννοείται.
This too. And can I have fried rice with pineapple?
3.
New Year's Eve was upon us, and we decided to visit the Shwedagon Natural Cave Pagoda, which is a huge limestone cave filled with thousands of gilded Buddha statues and is located near the town of Pindaya. On the drive to the temple, we made a stop to see a school. Continuing further down, we stopped at a pond where we saw some locals washing themselves with not so clear water. In general, the route to Pindaya crosses one of the most cultivated areas of Myanmar. 1.5 hours later, we reached our destination. The temple consists of a natural complex of caves, connected by tunnels. Inside the caves, and according to the latest count, more than 8,000 statues of Buddha have been found. Statues which have been donated by pilgrims from around the world. Upon our return, we made a stop at the Shwedagon Monastery. It is one of the most photographed places around Inle Lake due to its characteristic oval-shaped windows. It's almost midnight and the streets are filled with many impromptu parties. We chose one to enjoy ourselves at, which was in someone's garage. It was one of the best experiences of the trip, and it showed us that being in a good mood makes it possible to have a great time anywhere. On the first day of the new year, we began a 2-day hike in which we had to walk 54 kilometers to get to Kalau. To reach our target, we needed to walk about 9 hours each day. We had booked this tour through an agency located in the town of Myanmar, where we began our journey by boat. Through the channels, we arrived in Guangdang to take the road to Kalau. The 54-kilometer stretch was full of new experiences, beautiful changes in scenery, and many interesting spots to visit. One such place we came across that impressed us was this cane processing workshop, where we watched sugar being produced. After walking around for a while, we stopped at a local man's home to eat and drink tea. Continuing on, we saw how the locals produce traditional baskets from bamboo. All in all, we passed through some small villages and met some wonderful people. We even played soccer with monks at a monastery. We continued on our way to the monastery, where we would spend the night, and where our guide will also cook us some local traditional recipes of Myanmar. We woke up the next morning to a foggy landscape, and after a while began our hike to Kalau. We were impressed by the way they stilled and tilled their land using oxen, a sight that brings one back to another era. A few kilometers on, we passed through an area that is famous for the cultivation of pepper. Our last stop was at a school, as we wanted to see where and in what conditions children are educated in the Myanmar province. We arrived in Kalau late in the afternoon and badly needed some rest. The next morning, after the 2-day hike, we decided to reward ourselves with a massage. We also got haircuts and a shave. After that, we visited the Thang Taung Paya Monastery. In the afternoon, we took the bus to Yangon, where we arrived after 12 hours. Our city tour began at the People's Park, which covers an area of approximately 65 acres and includes more than 3,000 plants. We walked through the park to reach the #1 attraction of the city, the Shwedagon Pagoda. It is located at the top of Mandalay Hill, and to get there you must take an escalator, which locals who aren't familiar with it are afraid to use. It is considered as the most sacred temple in Myanmar, as it is believed to contain the relics of the last 4 Buddhas of the present Kalpa. We visited the Shwedagon Pagoda again in the evening, as we were told that the scenery was particularly striking. Moving on from the church, we headed to the historic city center, wanting to see some more sights. We passed by City Hall and the Shule Pagoda. Then we visited the Church of Emmanuel Baptist, where we saw a liturgy in progress. We strolled through Mahabandula Park, which got its name from the general who fought against the British in 1824 to 1826. From the park, we took a taxi and visited Lake Kandau, which is an artificial lake built during the British occupation to supply the city with clean water. Over the last years, I've visited Southeast Asia several times, as this region of the globe combines everything that I am looking for: beautiful landscapes, genuinely honest people, and delicious food. Myanmar is a special case though, as 64 different nationalities live here, and more than 200 languages are spoken. It is a country under military rule, but has recently opened its borders after several decades of total isolation.